All right, so here we have this customers. This is a single light frame, but now we're going to process the whole stack of this. So I like using bad pixel mapping when possible instead of dark subtraction. I think on a lot of things it works a whole heck of a lot better, and that'll give us an extra little bit to actually do here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to first align and combine the dark images that we actually have to help make our bad pixel map. So I'm just going to do no alignment. We're going to average all these things together here. And it's going to say, what do I want to do? Let me grab all of my darks. Chunk, 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 chunk. It's going through here and it's averaging now all of those dark frames. Let it go and finish, and it'll then pop up something letting us actually go and save this. We'll say this called something like average dark. All right. So now let's have it go and actually make a bad pixel map out of this average dark frame. And let's see here. What do we want to set this at? Wow, this guy here. Here we go. Okay. So there's very, very few bad pixels. All right, I'll do something like this here. So in all of this, you can, if I zoom in, we should be able to see the things that it's actually flagging as being bad. Well, I'll pick something like this here for right now. Okay. All right, so I'm doing this here to kind of show that extra little step and everything that one can do. All right, so now let's go and pre-process these images here. Let's take the dark frame. We'll say this is a bad pixel map, and we tell it that it's a color-based bad pixel map. Let's grab our bias frames. You could have already stacked the biases if you felt like. Let's grab our flats. And let's grab our lights. And on this, by the way, I'm just clicking on the first one, scrolling down, clicking on the last one, holding down Shift and clicking on the last one to select all of them. Okay, so on our flats, you know, we don't need to, we can actually apply the bias to it. We don't need to deal with any bad pixel mapping on that. On our lights, we want to have it, let's apply the bias correction, let's apply dark one, and let's apply flat one. Okay, so let's go and do this. All right, so now what it's doing is it's going through, it's loading up all of the flats. It's creating an average of all of the flats that this customer had. It's going to do the same odd thing for the biases, and then it's going to start applying them. So as this chunks through here, I'm just going to pause the recording and pick back up when it's done. All right, so we are now done. It's chunked through all of these kinds of things, and now we have all of these pre-processed files. Now, this is data from a one-shot color camera. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to do batch demosaic, and square a raw color kind of thing. Let's grab all of the pre-proc frames that it just went and did. Grab all of these. And we've got this matrix offset that we had here before. Okay. All right, so we've chunked through. It's done then all of the pre-processing on all of this. It's converted it into color. Actually, we can see that it's color. If I set my sliders just right here, we can start to see on an individual frame. Yeah, but I'm, you know, looking for the very just super deep in the shadows here. We can see that there's the nebula that we're actually trying to get out. Okay, so at this point, the next step is we are going to need to go through and actually align these images. All right, so I'm going to go through and tell it to do the align and combine here. Batch, align and combine images. Now, what I like doing on this is I like telling it to save each file because I like trying sometimes different stacking methods. We're just going to have translation. We're not going to deal with any possible rotation that may be inside this image yet, just sort of in the interest of speed. And honestly, most of the time, this is going to be just fine. It depends on your Depends on the kind of mount and how good of a job you actually had on that. Okay, so let's go and tell it we want to do the translation. So now let's go through. We've got all of these the reconstructed color files. Let's go and grab all of these guys. All right, and now it wants us to pick a star that we can actually work on here. And, oh, what the heck, I'll just use this guy right here. Okay, so now then, in all of this, it's set up so that it's automatically going and trying to find this frame for me. And if you notice down here, it says click on the star, shift to skip, control to keep the guess, alt to auto all. So I'm just going to hold down control and say like, yeah, you can keep that guess, it's fine. And when I do this, then I don't need to be, accurate in my clicking because it's got the circle around it and we're just saying, yep, nebulosity, that's the star. I do like going through, in particular since I haven't actually looked at these images, I don't know how much motion there is between each frame. If there's not very much, which is what it looks like here, I could go through and do the Alt click on here and have it automatically go and find it. But since this is somebody else's data, I'm just going to click through on this. This also lets me, if there are frames that come up that look like they've got a clear problem, some wind blew, somebody bumped into the mount or something like this, it's a nice way to be able to then see, hey, wait a minute, is there a problem here? Okay, so now it's going through and it's saying it's doing the each of these images here, number 6, number 7. I'll hit pause again here as it processes all of these. Alrighty, so as you can see now, we are done. It will have gone and saved each one of these as an aligned version of it. All right, so now at this point here, all it's done is it's made a version in which all of them are perfectly registered on top of each other. We now actually need to stack them. As I say, you can do this in one, but here's why I like doing it separately. So now let me hit the align and combine. I can tell it none, and all of these various stacking functions open up to us. Okay, so what this then gives us, the ability to go and actually do things like percentile-based stacking in addition to the averaging. We have standard deviation, we have percentiles. So what this is saying is, hey, if something is outside of the, 10 to 90th percentile, so if the image intensity at each little pixel there is outside of this range, discard it. It's a nice way of being able to get out comets, plane trails, anything like that. So let me try this 10 to 91. And we can now then go and we grab all of the align things. It's going to go through, it's chunking each one of these, it's loading them. I will again hit pause here. One quick little thing as this is going, if you notice down here it's saying like 38, 39 out of 90. Where the heck is the 90 coming from? I thought you only had 30 frames there. Yeah, I do have 30 frames, but it's doing the red, green, and blues separately here. So, because really a color image is 3 monochrome images stuck on top of each other. So in fact, we have 90 frames that we're dealing with. Okay, so as we're done here, it now says, let's have a file name to save this here. Stack percent, like 90%. Wow, I can't type. Percentile. And I'll say version 0 here. All right, so now at this point, let's go. Let me kind of zoom out a little bit here so we're going to be able to see. Let's take a look and see what's inside here. All right, well, we see we've got then a bit of a Pelican nebula, and here we are. Okay, so now at this point, we can also see, by the way, see this here? We're going to need to do a rotation-based alignment on here, because as you can see, these stars are trailing, whereas right by our one that we did our alignment on, it's perfectly fine. So we're going to have to go back and redo that alignment and give it 2 stars to work on to be able to actually go and do that. All right, so at the moment though, just a couple of quick things for folks before we get into the stretching and go back and do that other kind of thing here. One of the things to know, if you take a look, by the way, again in this, the background here has a hue to it. Set this to 0.
I'm going to take Bo for a late breakfast walk.
All right, so here now, one of the things I wanted to try to be able to show people here is that there is a bit of a hue to the background, a little bit of a green kind of thing to it. So one of the nice tools inside of here, this auto color balance, boom, hey, all of a sudden that looks really nice and pretty. So in fact, let's go and let's let it do a little bit of a quick stretching on here just to kind of see where we're going to be able to get to. You can use the curves tool here, which is a nice one. You can use the levels tool, but each of these things are going to be an iterative. Tell you what, I'll go back and I'll do the, I'll keep going with the curves tool here a little bit. Now we're starting to see it come through. And really, of course, what we're doing is we're saying that there is interesting stuff. There is interesting stuff down buried in the shadows here. By the way, as the background starts to get kind of bright, you can also pop into the levels tool and reset a black point a little bit. The reason why the histogram looks so odd here is because we haven't cropped off these little edge side bits. Okay, but as you can see here now, there clearly is beautiful nebula and everything inside here that we can get at with a little bit of better stretching. But before we go and do that, we are going to want to try to clean up and have the alignment work a little better by doing the 2-star kind of alignment.